religious freedom a top priority in the United States foreign policy for the first time in America's history. Our efforts are gaining momentum. We're building. They're getting a momentum that is all their own. On November 16th and 17th, Poland will host the third ministerial to advance religious freedom or belief. This virtual event, on the heels of the 2018 and 2019 ministerials, which were hosted here in Washington, the State Department, are the largest human rights events ever held here at the State Department. Albania, Morocco, Taiwan, the United Arab Emirates, and Colombia have all held follow-on events as well. And the International Freedom or Belief Alliance that I launched in February of this year now has blossomed into 31 member states and growing. Next week, I'll have a very special opportunity to participate in the virtual Alliance Ministers meeting to solidify our plans for future action in the religious freedom space. You know, we're building out coalitions, too, that share our values in the economic sphere. In recent weeks, Undersecretary Keith Kroc has traveled to more than a dozen countries to bring freedom-loving countries and companies together in the Clean Network, a group that pledges to use only trusted vendors in their 5G networks. I'm happy to announce we have almost 50 clean countries today, representing nearly nearly two-thirds of the world's GDP. 170 telephone companies, telcos, have agreed to be clean, and many of the world's leading companies are on board. It includes 27 of 30 NATO allies, 31 of 37 OECD members, 26 of 27 EU members, and 11 of 12 of the 3Cs nations. Undersecretary Keith Kroc is now down in South America. He's discussing the Clean Network with the government officials and private sector leaders in Brazil. And in fact, I got the news within the last hour that the government of Brazil supports the Clean Network principles, and I'm confident we'll sign an MOU in the very near future. I want to thank Brazil and its leadership for doing that. We're also standing alongside our Brazilian partners to protect the environment with the U.S.-Brazil Environmental Framework Dialogue that was held earlier today. The United States and Brazil are about real results when it comes to protecting the environment and growing our economies, not empty rhetoric. Undersecretary Kroc has also led the first ever Japan-U.S.-Brazil trilateral exchange, which will advance democracy's ability to prosper together as sovereign and independent states. Talk about Asia for just a minute. I'm pleased to announce that on the 20th of this month, Undersecretary Kroc will lead our Economic Prosperity Partnership Dialogue with Taiwan under the auspices of the American Institute of Taiwan and the Taipei Economic and Cultural Representative Office here in the United States. The dialogue signifies that our economic relationship with Taiwan, a vibrant democracy and a reliable partner, is strong and growing. We'll help increase cooperation on everything from safe and secure supply chains to the clean and 5G security to health security and to more. Turning to another State Department bureau, building out coalitions of the like-minded. Last week, the Bureau of Energy Resources, under the leadership of Assistant Secretary Fannin, convened a virtual meeting of the Energy Research Governance Initiative. 20 countries attended, working for secure, resilient, diverse, and well-governed critical energy, mineral, and supply chains. And we're proud to participate in the 35th Annual Joint Economic Development Group meeting with Israel later this week. The Trump administration has exerted American leadership in unprecedented ways in multilateral institutions too. Just as we helped protect the intellectual property rights by ensuring that the World Intellectual Property Organization is run by an individual who respects property rights, last week the United States helped ensure that the United Nations stewards its finances responsibly. I'm happy to report that an American with 40 years of administrative and budget experience will be placed in the UN system, having won a seat on the Advisory Committee on Administrative and Budgetary Questions. Doesn't sound like much, but it's a big deal. This advisory body shapes the UN's regular budget and its peacekeeping budget. It's nearly $10 billion a year, with more than $2 billion coming from the United States alone. Our diplomats made the case to our allies and partners on why having an American voice on this committee for the first time in an awfully long time is crucial to ensuring the money is spent responsibly. I want to congratulate Donna and Marie. American leadership also continues on the counterterrorism front. Today, the United States and Nigeria are co-hosting a virtual meeting with members of the global coalition focused on countering the threat of ISIS and its worldwide branches, including West African, and to supporting ongoing international efforts throughout the region. And in the Middle East, just last week, the United States sanctioned former Lebanese government minister Gibran Bassil under global Magnitsky authorities for his role in corruption. The Lebanese people clearly want their corrupt political class, so much of it beholden to Hezbollah, to stop ruining their country. Our action shows that American people stand with the Lebanese people as they call for their political leaders to chart a new direction marked by reforms, transparency, and honest governance. And on Iran, our efforts to protect the American people from the regime in Tehran will not cease. Today, the Treasury Department sanctioned an international network of companies and individuals that procured electronic components for a sanctioned Iranian military firm. I think it's clear by now that those who do business with Iran's military and proliferation-sensitive industries are risking the exact same punishment. In Europe, the United States welcomes the EU's adoption of guidelines for third state participation in permanent structured cooperation projects. Opening the door to U.S. participation in EU defense initiatives will strengthen NATO-EU cooperation, as well, and very importantly, interoperability. We look forward to completing an administrative arrangement with the European Defense Agency to ensure broad U.S. participation inside of PESCO. Closer to home, our prayers are with the people of the region as they recover and rebuild from Hurricane Ida's horrible devastation. The United States government is proud to have provided assistance already to our friends in Central America. We're proud to support Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, as these governments work together to address illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing. We're very concerned that the Chinese IUU activity, this unregulated fishing, took place off the coast of Ecuador, as it has elsewhere in the world. I was with the Ecuadorian foreign minister. He and I both agree that this must stop. On Bolivia, President Trump was pleased to send a delegation headed by Treasury Undersecretary Brent McIntosh for the inauguration of President Luis Arce on November 8th. I also spoke to the president-elect last week to congratulate him on his historic victory. We also congratulate the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines on their successful election last week, and we continue to seek similar free and fair elections in Venezuela and in Nicaragua. There's also plenty of news before I close on the human rights front. Yesterday, the State Department sanctioned 4 senior Chinese Communist Party officials and Hong Kong police who have undermined Hong Kong's promised autonomy and crushed the freedoms of its people. We will continue to challenge actions by the CCP and its Hong Kong proxies who stifle democracy and basic freedoms. On Monday, in Syria, we unleashed the 5th tranche of the Caesar Act designations on Bashar Assad and his regime. And the United States commends the EU for taking similar actions to sanction individuals responsible for prolonging the horrific conflict inside of Syria. We will continue to coordinate with our EU and like-minded partners to promote accountability for the regime there and the atrocities it has committed against the Syrian people. In Geneva yesterday, the United States presented our national report on the U.S. commitment to domestic human rights at the UN Universal Periodic Review. I'm very proud of the work we did. Our remarkable, vibrant democracy provides for the greatest freedoms and protection of human rights anywhere in the world. The brutal regimes shouting the loudest about our record have the most to hide about their abysmal treatment of their own people. And with that, I'm happy to take questions. Hi.
Is the State Department currently preparing to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. Right? We're ready. The world is watching what's taking place here. We're going to count all the votes. When the process is complete, there'll be electors selected. There's a process. The Constitution lays it out pretty clearly. The world should have every confidence that the transition necessary to make sure that the State Department is functional today, successful today, and successful with the president who's in office on January 20th, mid-afternoon, will also be successful. I went through a transition on the front, and I've been on the other side of this. I'm very confident that we will do all the things that are necessary to make sure that the government, the United States government, will continue to perform its national security function as we go forward.